Hello, everybody. This is a Lamley Showcase, part 2 of my look back onto some of the cars that I collected as a kid. And this part 1, was dedicated to the fantastic, wonderful, nostalgic, simple, heavy, beautiful 8-dot wheels from Matchbox. These cars that I started liking because they represented the cars that I liked. And from, say 9, 10 till about 16, 17, and even in sporadically later, these were the cars that represented the cars that I liked as a kid. And I liked and I wanted to have small versions. It was a very, very small collection. I didn't consider myself a collector. I don't think that was a thing, much of a thing back then. There were adult collectors. But those Matchbox 8-dot wheels, the simplicity, the dollar, the way you could buy one for, a buck or so at the store, made it so I could create a very small collection. And I've since replicated that, and I'm going to continue to add 8 dots and grow an 8-dot collection, which will be fun to document. But there was a second part of this. As I was becoming a teenager, Matchbox jumped into the premium game. Now, Hot Wheels, you can argue, did too with their Real Rider series, and I don't remember all of the the chronological order of when Matchbox, so I remember, or when Hot Wheels started adding more premium stuff and the 100% and all that stuff. But I know that's become far more prominent this century than, say, back in the 80s and 90s. Hot Wheels was doing Real Riders and they were popular, but Matchbox was, I would say, equally as popular, at least among the people I knew, with their world-class and their premier collection cars. And I want to showcase some of those today. These were castings that were already in the main line that Matchbox then added 2-piece tires and full details. I don't know what the price were. I can't remember back then. They did kind of a limited. In fact, sometimes they would, if I can get this one here, they would mention that they wouldn't number them individually, but they would mention how many were made. See, this one was only limited to 25,000. If you think about it, that's not a lot of these cars. And they took some of their current castings. Now, this is 1995. Most of these cars were made in the 90s from I think late 80s, maybe 1991, 92, and then throughout the decade. I don't know if any of them moved into the 2000s. I mean, that's something we can talk about. But in the 90s, well, I graduated from high school in 1992, so these cars were coming out and they're representing some of the cars that I liked. And I would say, well, it would be cool to have a premium version, but I did not have very many. I'm guessing I had 3 or 4, maybe 5 of these premier models. And I think I would imagine there's a lot of you that would say it was the same thing to have these kind of models, maybe just a handful. I definitely didn't keep them packaged. That's for sure. But like the first video, I'll talk about the most significant models. And this one is easily the most significant. I have mentioned over and over again that when this generation of the 300ZX came out in 1989, 1990, I was obsessed. And so any car maker that would do it, Hot Wheels, Matchbox, those were the two, I would buy them. I much preferred the Matchbox version to the Hot Wheels version. And as a matter of fact, I don't know, I think I bought a couple, but the Hot Wheels had goofy colors on them and all this deco. I didn't like them. But Matchbox put out their 8-dot version of the Z in yellow, but they also put out this world-class version in pearl white. And this was the definitive car of that era for me. I had this one obviously opened, and I have one, I actually have a loose one. I'm going to be giving these away. I thought this was the perfect Matchbox. Not only was it the car that I loved the most in the early 90s, but the pearl white color I thought was fantastic. I didn't even think about the fact that mirrored windows made no sense, but I just thought it was kind of cool. I thought the wheels were cool. I thought that they fit, while they stick out a little bit, I thought that these actually fit pretty well and kind of gave the car a menacing look. And I remember too imagining if I had my own Z, back then, and realistically, I thought I would have a TV screen on the dash. I would have it all tricked out in all these cool ways that I don't think make any sense today. But I remember having those thoughts, and I was like, well, I would do it just like this Matchbox in pearl white. This would be the perfect version of this car. It's a car that I should one day find a nice version of and put in my actual garage. But the Z is definitely one of the most significant models. So world class. these were the first Premiere or premium models. You can see the elite of miniature vehicles. I actually got a few that I'm going to give away on Whatnot as part of the Whatnot show that we're doing on Saturday, and so I wanted to walk through some of them, and then I'll show you some of them. I'm really just going to kind of show these because these were not cars that I had, but I wanted to, since I didn't have a lot that, like I said, I was very selective. These were cars that, you know, I wasn't just going to buy them off the pegs like maybe some of us would now. It had to have like a real reason for me to get it. And these were cars like 57 Chevys and like classic Corvettes. These were not my jam back then at all. But I acquired a few so that I could give some of these away or somehow put them as part of the Whatnot show because I think they're a good representation of what Matchbox was doing back then. And it's kind of cool to see some of these cars that maybe get more associated with Hot Wheels these days, that they were done back in the 90s by Matchbox. And it's kind of cool to see some bunch of Corvettes. I actually was a big fan of the Corvette, so I don't think that's unrealistic. Lamborghini Countach. This was a casting that I think I had some of the I don't think I had the Premiere version of it or the World Class, but this was look how nice this is. I mean, yeah, it's still got some of the crudeness that they were of some of these models, but all of them did back then. You know, trying to compare them to what can be done with castings these days is kind of unfair, but he's also had just tremendous like quality, that's for sure. This is the Corvette Stingray, which is a very, very cool casting, which I think we've seen. It looks really nice in orange. Then there were cars that I can't remember, but I bet there was a good chance that I might have had one or two. Like, I've mentioned my love for the Porsche or for the Ferrari Testarossa. This is one that I probably would have wanted to acquire, but I would have preferred, and I know this for a fact, two-piece tires didn't mean a lot to me. The extra detail did on these, but the fact that the wheels stuck out a little bit on this one made me prefer this one more because to me it was more realistic. So I would prefer the 8 dot in this case. The Z didn't really have that. It wasn't as prominent. This one's sticking a little bit. It wasn't as prominent on some that it was on some of these. And this is just what Matchbox had because they put, you know, I think they did what they could. They had to do these thicker tires. They have these kind of, you know, you can see how they're constructed. And I don't think there was much they could do. They couldn't modify the castings, but they had these big wide tires. It was probably all they could do. And so some of them did stick out a little wider. Now, sidewise, from a side profile, which was how they looked in the package, they looked fantastic. But the minute you turned them, obviously they looked a little bit more out of place, but very, very cool. This is one that the Ferrari 308 that actually doesn't look too bad, right? In fact, it looks great. Has kind of a menacing look to it, just like the Z did, that I think was really, really nice. So that Ferrari 308 was a nice version of World Class. All of them have the mirrored windows, which I think is kind of, I mean, it's nostalgic. It's kind of cool. 944, pretty decent, cool casting. One of the ones I need to add to my 8 dot collection. But you can see this looks really good with the Goodyear on the tires, the 944 turbo on the side. Even the mirrored windows, I kind of dig. A favorite of mine, 959, same thing. I would have preferred, while I really like the details on this one, I would have preferred this one with the more realistic 8 dots. And so I would have gone for that one. And I may have had this casting, but I could see where I would have been like, no, I'll just take the other ones. But I don't know if I had an 8 dot Porsche back then. So anyway, yeah, that's where my memories get a little too blurred. And there's not much I can do there. And then going back to the original, if you remember, I showed this one as my first favorite car when I was about 6 or 7 years old. Well, here is the World Class version of the same casting. And it looks really good. The wheels stick out, but the details are super, super nice. And it definitely gives the car a different look, right? One thing I did notice, and I don't know if I remember back then, they took all the opening parts out of these. So the opening doors on the original are sealed in. Probably so they could do the mirrored windows the way they did, is my assumption. Some of these do still have opening parts, like the 57 has an opening hood, nonetheless. Then there's one World Class that I said, I later in life kind of fell in love with the 500 SEC, and that was one that I acquired as well. But some things don't change. I like this one. The colors are great. And I love it in white. I love the details on it. But I'm happier with the 8-dot, so I'm going to actually make the two of them that I have. Well, I could change my mind, but I'm thinking of making both available tomorrow. Maybe one for giveaway, or on Saturday. One for giveaway and one for maybe for someone who really wants it to purchase. So I'm going to put those right there. That's world class. Now there's a ton of others, and if you look them up, you'll see a million of them, and you'll see some really, really cool cars. And I think a lot of you who weren't maybe either collecting or even alive at the time might go, man, I had no idea that Matchbox was doing this. And they were. And I think their premium, I think they're really more of the predecessor of what Hot Wheels premium is today. And I think we think like Matchbox is kind of behind the 8-ball a little bit in the premium game, but in some ways in the big picture, they were kind of ahead. So world class, they took that out and they created then Premiere. Mirrored windows, gone. The Real Rider tires, or the 2-piece tires, they remained. They did some updated versions, some new versions. Detailing, tons of detailing. I'm not going to go through all of these. We're going to put these available and whatnot, but I want to show you a few significant ones. I'm not going to open them because I said they're going to go, well, I might open one. Well, I'm not going to open it right now because this one actually arrived damaged and I taped it together. Maybe I'll open it later. This one is actually going to stay in my collection. And let me show you the two that actually will stay in my collection. They did a premiere version of the Z in yellow. Look at that. One predates the other one by what? 25, 30 years. Kind of interesting. And this one I'm going to add. The Pearl White World Class I'll probably get rid of, but I will add this one, the Premiere. And the other one I actually have in my collection because I really like the BMW 5 Series. They did one Premiere version. I don't have it packaged because I've had this one in my collection for a while. And look, the tires actually work. They fit. They don't stick out. This is by far the best premium version, is the Premiere version of the BMW 5 Series. They even did like the interior. I don't know if you can see it on the turntable, but they did two-tone seats on the interior. This, to me, if there's any Premiere to have, it's this BMW. But some of you might say there's some castings that are super, super hot now that Matchbox did way back then. Let me show you a few of them. Starting with this one. I've been putting this one on Instagram, and I've had a lot of people going, man, no idea. This is the Toyota Supra, the A80. I'm not opening it because this is going to be made available. Maybe one day I'll have one that I'll open and put in the collection. But I think out of fairness for this and the Whatnot Rewind shows, this one I think is going to be very popular. So that one's going to be made available. I think I have another one of the Supra. There were, I think, a few colors of it, but I have this white one and this gold one, which is fantastic. You think about like, oh, JDM hype. How about the Mazda RX-7? Look how nice that looks. Predates the Hot Wheels RX-7. I guess here, look, I could even do. Do I have? No, I put it back. The white Supra comparison because Hot Wheels has done that. Definitely not something that's current, but how about that Ferrari Testarossa? I showed you the world class version with the mirrored windows, but did you know they came back and did a red version? I don't know if the tires maybe stick out as much or less. I don't know, but they're different wheels, more chrome style versus the world class, which were not chrome. I don't think any of them were chrome, but they were able to add chrome to the wheels here, and they obviously added detailed interior and glass, plastic glass, of course. So they upgraded the Testarossa. How about they call this the Mercedes GTC, but this one you could say predates some of the Mercedes racers that Hot Wheels is doing currently. Obviously, this is not a real livery team Matchbox, but it is pretty freaking awesome, isn't it? That's one that I might consider opening someday, just because. But I'm gonna give this one away, or somehow I'm gonna let you guys decide whether I should sell these, because there might be people who really want them and want to bid on them, or give them away. I'm gonna do a lot of giveaways for sure, but who knows? Ferrari F50. The F40 was done. I don't have one in Premiere, but here's the Ferrari F50. That looks good. Again, look at the wheels. Now they're starting to become, more more aligned. So that one is pretty cool. They did the Mercedes 600, they call it 600 SL. They did several colors of this one. This one's in black, two-tone gray. Wheels look nice. I think this is a rad car. I'll give you a little sneak peek from the Hot Wheels I'm going to do. But again, the Hot Wheels is coming out, but Matchbox predates it, which is kind of cool. I guess I could even show you these, right? Too. Those come together. It's just one car after the other, after the other, after the other. I don't have to, let's see, is there any others? There's some classic muscle. They were doing that. Pontiac GTO Judge looking really, really nice with the GTO factory look. How about Dodge Viper RT10 casting that Matchbox finally did right. When was it? Last year. And here's a really, really nice version with the Real Rider tires on it. There's police cars, there's classic Corvettes. What is there? Oh, another JDM, or, you know, call it JDM, Mitsubishi Spider, but this one's convertible. So the 3000 GT Spider, of course, that's what a convertible is. But they did a convertible version of that one. It's really, really cool to see some of these cars. And I think for a lot of people, I'll show you one other one that I think is just really well done that a lot of people like. And I saw some comments. How about the T-Bird Turbo Coupe? Look how nice that looks. I want to collect these. I want to collect the world class. But the only reason I'm not is the same reasons I'm doing the collection purges and everything else. I just don't have room. I have to be super selective. And collecting anything like this, as much as I love them, I'll add, because the 300ZX is so significant to me as a collector, I think I'll reference this one more. Because I love the BMW so much, I'll keep that one. But that's it. That's it. Everything else, all the other world classes have to go. And I'll do that small 8-dot collection that I talked about yesterday. And that'll be really fun. It will be fun to, you know, acquire, find little gems as I kind of go out and about at shows and to document that. But the rest of the stuff, it's not. I'll take pictures of the stuff and show it as I kind of come across it at different things. Like a lot of these really cool cars you'll find at the Matchbox convention in Albuquerque in July. And if I see some cool ones, I'll take some pictures. But I really want people to see, as we do this Lamley Rewind, what cool stuff Matchbox was doing back then. I was a Matchbox collector. If I was a collector as a kid, you would definitely have to call me a Matchbox collector. And I think that a lot of the people that would be Hot Wheels collectors today would have been Matchbox collectors back then, just for what they were doing. You guys tell me what you think. This stuff's cool. Did you like the 8-dots? Did you like these world class and premieres? You gonna join me on Whatnot? I hope you will, because this will be really fun to put these in other people's collections. I think you'll really enjoy them. And yeah, you might want to be careful, because it might lead to you acquiring a lot more. You guys tell me what you think. Thanks, everybody. Bye.